everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my TBR for a Very Merry Readathon. If you don't know what a Very Merry Readathon is, it is a Christmas themed readathon that I host every year in December. This year our theme is A Christmas Carol, so all of the reading challenges are based off of different characters from A Christmas Carol. If you want to learn more about it, I'll leave a link to my announcement video up in the eye in the corner, but without further ado, let's jump into my TBR. Now, before I show it to you, there's only 4 books on it, but I wanted to show you what they look like before I show you the titles. So this is what they look like. They all look very large, but they're all about to get very small as soon as I tell you what they are, so stick around and see how I managed to do that. So the bonus challenge this year, which is the first challenge I'm going to actually talk about, is to read the group book, which is A Christmas Carol. So the first book that I have here that is very thick is actually just a collection of Christmas books by Charles Dickens. The first one in here is A Christmas Carol, which I think is only around like 72 pages or something like that. So makes this book a lot tinier than it actually seems. So this is the first book that I plan to read, which is for the bonus challenge of reading the group book, and I hope that a lot of you guys will be reading the group book along with us. Now on to the actual challenges based off of the different characters. First up we have Scrooge, which is to read a book with gold on the cover, because as we know, Scrooge really likes his money. So first up we have The Invention of Hugo Cabret. This obviously has a lot of gold on the cover, and this is actually going to be a reread for me. I think I've read this either 2 or 3 times in the past, so this is either going to be my 3rd or 4th reread of this. I just love this book so much. So again, it looks like a pretty thick book, when in actual fact most of the book is actually told through illustrations. There are not a whole lot of actual written pages. A lot of them are illustrations, which are in black and white and absolutely stunning. I'm just so excited to read this book again. This is one of my all-time favorite stories. So this is what I will be using for the first challenge. The second challenge is The Ghost of Christmas Past, and that is to read an old favorite or a childhood favorite. So for that challenge, again, I will be reading The Invention of Hugo Cabret, because this is both an old favorite of mine and also a favorite from my childhood, since the first time I read it was probably when I was either like 11 or 12, probably, yeah, definitely 11 or 12. So it's definitely a book of my childhood and still remains one of my favorite books. The next challenge is The Ghost of Christmas Present, and that is to pick a book that you feel like reading in the present. So of course I don't have a book for this challenge right now, because I'm going to pick it in the present during the readathon, which by the way takes place from December 13th to the 19th. Probably should have mentioned that at the beginning, but better late than never. The next challenge is The Ghost of Christmas Future, and that is to read a book that intimidates you. So for this, I'm going to be reading a book that has been on like 4 TBRs in the past. I've been wanting to read it for the past 3 months or something like that, and that is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This book intimidates me for several reasons. One, because I'm a really big fan of the Greta Gerwig version of the film, so I have high expectations for this book because I want to love it just as much as the movie, and I'm afraid that I won't. Also because so many people love this book, and I'm afraid that I won't love it as much as everybody else does. Also because it's a classic. Classics aren't my favorite. I tend to struggle a lot with more classical writing, so I'm very intimidated by this book for many reasons. And I suppose you could also use this for the Scrooge challenge, since it does have some gold embossing on the cover as well. And then we come to the final challenge, which is Tiny Tim, and that is to read a book with disability representation. Now, as I said, I am going to be reading A Christmas Carol, so that could work for this challenge also, but I did want to read both another book with disability representation and also another favorite from my childhood, and that is Wonderstruck, also by Brian Selznick, who wrote The Invention of Hugo Cabret. So this is a book that I believe this will be my 3rd time rereading it, and I loved it the first and second time I read it also. Once again, this is a book that is told largely through pictures, but the interesting thing about this book specifically is that we're following 2 characters during 2 different timelines, and one of the characters, their story is told through the words, and the other character, their story is told through the pictures. So the one character that we're following is deaf, and then the other character, I believe, is deaf in one ear, but I can't remember because it's been a while since I've read it, if during the progression of this book he becomes deaf in both ears. I'm not 100% sure if it's one or both, but I know that at least one of the characters is completely deaf. And so yeah, like I said, we're following these two sort of timelines and these two different characters and stories, but then they end up weaving together, and it is such a beautiful story. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Technically, I think both of these books would be considered middle grade, so I think they're great for all readers, but I especially like that we have this kind of representation for middle grade readers. So yeah, I'm very excited to give this another reread because, like I said, it is an old favorite of mine as well. So those are all of the books that I plan to read for a Very Merry Readathon. Like I said at the beginning, they all look like very big books, but once you kind of see how they are formatted, they actually become some pretty quick reads. I think the biggest one is going to be Little Women because this is over 500 pages, although there are some photographs that are from the film, so hopefully this will go by quicker than it looks. But yeah, leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you'll be participating in a Very Merry Readathon, and if you are, let me know what you plan on reading. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!